So Spielberg is out, but Mangold is in. This is quite an interesting development for Lucasfilm and Disney. I think that them continuing the Indiana Jones franchise is something that it's almost a bit of a poison chalice. I think it's something that they really want to do, and it's something they really want to go forward with. Even Harrison Ford himself seemed pretty excited about the project, but then you just think about it, and you continue to think about it, and you come to realize that this movie, the longer the time goes on, the longer the production is delayed, the more and more chance it's going to be that this movie just ends up getting canned and trashed. However, I think with this recent development of James Mangold being placed into talks to direct Indiana Jones 5, I think does show a determination within the studio to actually try and get this movie done and get it off the ground. As Spielberg has walked away from the project, this will be the first film in the franchise he won't direct. But I think getting someone like James Mangold, I think shows a confidence in the studio that they want to do this movie, they want to do it right, and if they're not going to get Spielberg, they need to get a really good replacement. And for me personally, I think James Mangold is a really good choice to direct Indy 5, and I think that he could do a really good job with handling the fifth and likely final film in the franchise. So Indiana Jones 5, it is happening, and I think that this film, I think Disney have accepted within themselves that, this is the first film that they've had the rights to in regards to the Indiana Jones franchise. This is the first one that they've made themselves, and I think that they've accepted in themselves that this is going to be the last Indiana Jones film as they know it. Obviously, they could reboot it some way down the line. I hope they don't do that, but they could reboot it, do like a young Indiana Jones thing, whether it's with like Chris Pratt or Ehrenreich, someone like that. They could easily do that. But in regards to the mainline franchise with Harrison Ford, this is going to be the last film in the franchise. So I think that they really want to nail it and get it right, and especially with what they've done with Star Wars and the reception with Star Wars overall, which granted some people love what they've done with Star Wars. I really like how they've handled Star Wars. There are a lot of people who really don't like what they've done with Star Wars, and I think that they want to avoid that with Indiana Jones, and they really want to make this the best and most kind of passionate film that they could have made in regards to having a fifth Indiana Jones film. And with Spielberg walking away, it does bring up the question, should they continue to do it if the original kind of vision and mind behind the franchise from a direction standpoint, if he's not returning, if he doesn't want to do it, should they really continue? But obviously this is Disney, and I think that with Indiana Jones, this is a franchise that has a lot of history. This is a franchise that people love. And I think that Disney are really good at kind of bringing up things from the past and obviously making a lot of money out of them. So I think that they definitely want to go forward with this. So with that in mind, they need to find a new director. So what about James Mangold? Well, I think Mangold is a pretty obvious and pretty good choice to go for. I mean, Mangold he's kind of popular across the board. Everyone loves him. And I think that he's also done the two things that a studio would like to see. One of them is that he's a franchise guy. He clearly can do franchise movies. He did the Wolverine and he did Logan, both in the Fox X-Men franchise, and both of those movies were pretty well received, especially Logan, which actually got nominated for a Best Adapted Screenplay nomination that year at the Oscars. And then combining with that, the second thing that he has that studios like to see is that he's also a high caliber director at this point. He was literally just nominated, well, not him personally, but his most recent movie, Ford v Ferrari, was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars this year. Whether it deserved the Best Picture nomination is a different conversation entirely, but the fact of the matter is, it was nominated for Best Picture. So that's kind of two big boxes ticked there for James Mangold. He's a franchise guy, he's a studio man, and he's also a, acclaimed, esteemed director. So I think that James Mangold taking on the Indiana Jones franchise, it just makes sense. And I think that bringing him in as a director is a really good choice for this film. I think he fits the franchise. I think he could really deliver a really good ending. Like, if they actually, decide definitively going into this film that this will be the final film, I think we could really be in a good place. So why did Spielberg leave? I think he's just not really that into it anymore. I think especially coming off of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I think he just kind of accepted in himself that perhaps his franchise doesn't have much life in it, and he doesn't really want to take another risk and do another big swing and a miss like he did with Indiana Jones 4. I think that he wants to just kind of leave the franchise. He has his trilogy. He's just completely cast Kingdom of the Crystal Skull out of his mind, and he just wants to make a movie and, just leave it. Especially because he's got a lot on his plate right now. Obviously, we have got West Side Story coming up, and I think that, that filming schedule has kind of taken up a lot of his time. And while that film is basically done, I think that he's just wanting to take a break from that, because I know that was a fairly long shoot. So I think that he's going to want to just kind of focus, and the next movie he makes, he doesn't want to be a big risk, and he wants it to be successful, and he wants, because Spielberg's getting on now, he's getting close to retirement, and I think that he's going to want to make sure that the films that he's doing and the films that he's attaching his name to are going to be good. Especially with, Ready Player One recently as well, that was also a big swing and a miss for him. So I think that he just wants to be a bit more careful. So him leaving, exiting, I don't really have an issue with it. So in regards to the details of the movie, I still don't know what this movie's going to be. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't know how they're going to handle it. I mean, Indiana Jones has always taken place in the past. Of course, the original trilogy was sort of in the 20s, 30s, 40s. Then we had Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which took us to the 50s. I don't know, is this one going to take us to the 60s? Is it going to take us to the 70s? I don't know where they're going to place the movie. I don't know where it's going to take place, which I think could be a big thing for this film in regards to the story. Obviously, the villains of Indiana Jones are always very much tied into their time period. Like, The Last Crusade took place in World War II, so they have the Germans. And then in the 50s, we have the Russians as the villains. So it's very much tied into their time period. So I don't quite know when the movie's going to take place. But I think once we find that out, we'll be able to kind of take in a lot more detail with that. And the story, I think that the story has got to be a lot slower. I think it's got to be a lot more of a, relaxed movie. I think that, he's just not going to be able to do what he used to do. I mean, he looked old in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. How do you expect Harrison Ford, at the age of, I believe, 77, to just swing around on his rope, on the whip? It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to be a thing. So I think that it's really difficult to actually place what the movie's going to be about and how it's going to play from an action standpoint. I can really see them bringing in a new character to kind of maybe take up the mantle, or perhaps, just kind of act as the more action-heavy character in this film, just because obviously Harrison Ford isn't going to be able to do all the same stunts that he was able to. So I think they are going to bring in someone else. Whether that means they bring back Shia LaBeouf as his kid, I don't know. I mean, if this was about a year ago, I would have said no. However, what I will say is Shia LaBeouf has had a bit of a resurgence recently with The Peanut Butter Falcon and Honey Boy. He's kind of, pretty well regarded in the public eye these days. So I think there is actually a chance they could bring back Mutt, but also I don't think that Shia would attach himself to this, especially after all the hate he received in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and no one liked his character, so I can't see Shia actually wanting to return. But they could bring in a completely new character, fresh blood, maybe like a Short Round or something like that. That's what they should do in this movie. Bring back Short Round. Bring back him, because he was a really cool character, and also I think that he would be grown up at this point to actually, obviously he was a kid in Temple of Doom. You could bring him back and actually bring him as an adult character. That would be a cool way to continue the franchise on like Disney Plus or something with Short Round. That's an idea. But I do think that a new character will be brought in to kind of take up the action side of the franchise, and Harrison Ford will just continue on the character side. And then in regards to other characters, like I say, I was about to go on to returning characters. I wonder if we'll see Marion return. Will Karen Allen come back? I don't know if that's a choice, really. I mean, she came back in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I don't know if she'll really want to come back again. And then any of the other, love interests from the past, I don't really know if there's much place for them. So I think that this film, honestly, it's so difficult to talk about, because while it's exciting that we have James Mangold directing it, there's just no hints right now as to what the story's going to be, or even if this movie will even happen. I think that there's still a chance this movie could get canned. So we'll have to wait and see. But in regards to James Mangold taking over from Spielberg, I think it's a great choice, and I think that he will do a really spectacular job with this film if it goes forward. But what do you guys think about James Mangold directing? Make sure you let me know your thoughts. And what are your predictions for Indiana Jones 5? What are your hopes and wishes? Make sure you let me know yours in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, if you want to see more movie reviews and movie-related videos just like this one, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss an upload from me. And I hope to see you guys again next time.